Hi guys, welcome back to my slightly non-existent, little bit dead, not been uploading in a very long time, and I'm really sorry about that channel. I'm back and with a video for April for you. I thought, as I've not done Plan With Me's in an absolute age, 6 months to be exact, and I've already set up for April, I thought rather than sitting down and redoing an entire Plan With Me, which would be a little bit pointless, I would do a one-page whistle-stop April theme page tour. Gonna have to work on the wording of that for the title of this video, but it's where you can do some lettering for April with me, a few doodles and a couple of ways of putting a nice April flowery theme into your journal. So let's zoom you in and take you through how I'm lettering the word April. Now, it's a lot of trial and error, but I've split the page into two because you know me, I like my words to be central on the page. So I've found the middle of the page and I've found the middle letter of the word April, which of course is R. I'm trying to keep a 1-dot grid width on all of my downstrokes. So for R, I and L, that kind of worked out quite well for me. For the A and the P, the downstrokes, the big thicker ones, they got a lot bigger. It's only when I'm looking back filming that I'm thinking, why are they so big compared to the rest? They also do taper a little bit more, and I think that's the point with this April. Everything's just a little bit more rounded and a little bit more flowy. You can definitely see on the A and the L, I've gone loopy and put little dots on the end of those letters, kept it joined up and kept enough space between each letter so that it sort of spreads out, fills that page up, but it looks surprisingly girly and flowery for me. Which leads me on to the first floral drawing for the video. You've probably seen me do this a few times, but I'm plotting out a nice big circle. In fact, I'm going to slow that down for you. So I start with a centre dot and I count 5 dots up and put a little line, 5 dots across and a little line, you guessed it, the other side, a little line, and then 5 dots down and a little line. This then gives me something to flesh out that circle. I can draw quarter circles to mark up and match each of those lines. And it gives me not a perfect circle, but a near on perfect circle, certainly good enough for what I want it for. I draw a smaller circle around my centre dot and then I start to put in my key petals. These are going to be 4 that are going to go up to those marks that I made right at the beginning of this. And it kind of then fleshes out, and it means that as I put in each petal, I'm going to go up to that outer line of the circle. This way I know my flower is going to sit quite centrally. All the petals are going to look really nice. They're going to fill out, and I'm not going to black outline that outer circle. It's purely a guide, but it's quite a good guide for me to get in, put those petals in, and then the finished result is one nice big flower. I want more than just florals though for this theme, so I'm going to add some ribbon too. For me, the basic is you just draw one swooping line with another one just above or below it, and on those outer corners where they meet, you just join them up with a vertical line. And don't be afraid to change things up. The first pencil line you put down is definitely not signed, sealed and delivered. Rub things out, move things around until you're happy with them. On top of this, I'm going to add some leaves. I mean, what is a flower and a ribbon without a few leaves? It gives me an opportunity to add in just a little bit extra, cover a little bit more gaps. You don't want it to look like it's a lonely flower with a bit of ribbon just flailing behind it. So a couple of leaves, I'm going to stick a smaller flower, exactly the same concept we did as the first one. Add them in, add a few leaves, keep playing around with it until compositionally, I think that it feels like I've filled as much of that space and I'm ready to outline. It is worth mentioning, you saw just below this flower that I'm drawing now, that I changed the shape and how that ribbon flowed. What I didn't do is get rid of all the pencil lines that I no longer wanted. I left them in, and that's going to trip me up so hard in about 20 seconds time when I'm outlining. It's really important that you get rid of the lines that you don't want because you're going to probably draw them into, and it's going to cause an absolute chaos later down the line. So I've took my Faber Castell Pitt Artist black pen. It's on its last legs. It's about to be retired, but for now we're making use with it. I'm going in and I'm outlining all the different things that I'm adding in, trying to put in all the stuff that comes up first. So you'll notice that I don't necessarily finish all of the lines off. I leave them, and that's because I'm trying to work out, is the ribbon going to be on top? Is the flower going to be on top first? So I'm just taking it easy and putting in things as and when and how that I feel that I want them to sit. Now, it's at this point, as I put this flower in, that I've not quite got rid of some of that ribbon in the background on the right. And so when it comes to then putting the outline in, I just follow that old pencil line and it completely skews. Oh, look at it, I've gone far too up. You can see that, and you know, it's really easy when you're looking back on filming. You're like, oh God, it's hideous, take it away. But I've done it. I realise at this point I've done it because black pen's really good at letting you know that it's really bad. And I try and go in, rearrange the lines, add a bit of white. I try all I can do to the point where I just have to kind of accept it and know, okay, lesson learned, it's not awful, it's one part, we'll move on. Another great way to add and carry that theme through is in banners and borders. You'll see these all over Instagram, but a really simple one straight line with nice 2 little dots on the end, and then you come 4 dot spaces down, 3 dot spaces apart, bring it up and it gives you a nice little flag. Something you can put the day of the week in. I'm going to put a tiny little daisy in next to it just to keep that theme running through. I think this is where I get a bit brave and I add in some brush lettering. Note to self, practice brush lettering when you've not done it for a couple of months because you get this. But it's a work in progress. We all know my absolute hate and inability to freehand draw. So that banner's a really nice way of putting in if you're doing dailies. Another one I'm going to do is use that ribbon and floral to make a box header. So I've got a box here. This is probably where I'd put notes in. I'm going to put in a ribbon across the corner. Now you'll see here I didn't quite put that edge right up to the corner, and that's important. You want that bottom edge of that ribbon to go from the side of the box right over to the other side, and then you can put in the ribbon, and that way it's going to sit comfortably on the corner of that box. A couple of extra flowers just to really bring that theme through. I think this one's probably quite a nice one. I might experiment with this a little bit more. I might see if I can bring it into May. Probably not flowers and ribbons. I might see if I keep the ribbons but perhaps switch out the flower. But it was a really nice box header to draw, and I quite enjoyed the idea that it was much more floral and looked like I could put much more effort in than I really did. So I enjoyed that. And then another one, again, we're doing the ribbons. It's really nice doing them horizontally because you can go 1 dot grid. So I've put in a line. This would be good for the bottom of a page. I've put in the line of a ribbon, and then I've gone up 2 dot spaces and put in the top line, and then sort of an S curve that sort of comes round. You'll see when I do the black, I go round, right round and down, and then across. And then I'll do exactly the same, but just for the top there. I'm going to add in a couple of daisy and then flower with it as well. So I think this would be quite nice. If we're going to do it again, I'd do this right at the bottom of the page. I'd have that on the left-hand side, and I'd do the mirror opposite on the right-hand side. And then it'd be quite a nice bottom to a page. I think that would be a good theme. But I just wanted to give you loads of different examples of how you could use flowers and ribbons in your journal. I'm going to go in, rub it out, and get through to the bit that you know I've been waiting for, the bit that I love the most. Let's get the pens out. Let's do some colouring. So for me, when it comes to colours and a theme and a spread, pick your colours beforehand and pick colours. Oh, I'm still trying to get rid of it, and I just get over it. It's done. Pick some colours that work together. So pinks, purples, and like a teal green work really well. I'm going to go in, usually when I'm colouring, it's up and down strokes. It's not a word, is it? Up and down strokes all the way through until I've coloured it in. For this one, I'm going to layer up a different colour. So I've gone with a lighter pink, up and down colouring strokes all the way along. When they're thinner lines, you can see on the upstrokes that they're really thin. I'm not so pernickety about the up and down colouring in technique because they're so tiny, you're really not going to see. But the reason I like the up and down technique for the longer ones is that what I'm doing is laying one bit of ink down, moving across and laying another bit right next to it. I'm trying so hard not to overlap. And the reason is when you overlap pen marks, you get double the colour on certain areas and it really shows through. So single layer of colour, go in with a dark purple from the bottom and just flick that up. So everywhere it's there, I'm just starting at the bottom and I'm flicking the pen up. I know I've sped this up so it just looks like I'm going up and down and not taking my pen off the paper, but I'm not. Starting at the bottom, flicking it up, going back down to the bottom, flipping it up again. With most of my lettering, you'll see this, just for an extra bit of definition, I go in with a grey marker on the left-hand edges and the bottom, and I just add it in. It kind of gives the illusion that the April's lifted a little bit from the page. I think at some point I try and get a white pen and add that in, but the pink that I've chose is just that little bit too bright, so the white is not going to come through. I did, look. It's probably there. You'd really have to get nose to page to see the white, but hey, you can't knock a tryer. I tried it. There's something really gorgeous though about a hot pink with a teal that goes in with it. So I'm going to make my flowers nice and bright pink. Again, you would have seen me use this technique. I'm colouring most of the petal. I'm leaving just that top sort of a little midsection out. Again, the lines are vertical, they're flicking out, and then all my lines are following the same way. My lines that I'm doing there, I am alternating between where I start because I'm literally paying no rhyme or reason to how I'm doing it. But they're vertical, they always go in the direction of the petal, and I leave that little white bit because it's quite nice to make it look like there's a bit of definition. I've also learned at this point that my white pen doesn't work on this pink, so I'm having to use the background of the page to work for me. But it means once I've done this, I'm going to go back in with the same purple that I used in the April, and I'm going to go in the centre and flick out and add a bit of definition. I do or I don't. It really makes no difference if you finish and complete one flower on its own and move on to the next one. Potato, potato, whatever suits you. If you want to put the first layer in on all of the flowers first and then go in, I don't know. For this one, I flit around. But with that darker purple, I'm going to go in from the centre and just a little bit on the tip. I kind of want that petal to look like it's curved. So the end and the tip would be the furthest away because they'll be going up and over. You see where I'm going with the rhyme and reason? You see where I'm going. So I'm going to go around each little petal and do that again. Brush strokes, it's not a brush, it's a pen. Pen strokes are all in the same direction. So I'm going to go in with a really nice teal to complement with that pink. Again, same direction when I'm colouring in, up and down with a teal. I'm not trying to lay any more than just that one layer of ink down. And I'm doing this on the ribbons that would look like they're in the foreground. So for this one, this is the one that's going to be the most furthest at the top. So that's the one I started with. The one above it with that absolutely hideous line that we've talked about, I'm going to leave because that's going to be darker. So I'm going in, and all the ones that would be on this face of the ribbon, I'm going in with that teal and putting the lines in. Because I've put that single layer of pen down, I can then go down in the bottom, add another layer, just again, bottom to halfway at the top, just to give it a bit of depth. Here's the shy teal, this one that sat just outside of shot, just to drive me crazy. So it's a little bit darker than the teal that I had before, dark enough so that it separates and makes it look as if the ribbon's got sort of a front side and a back side, and it's undulating. I think that's the perfect word for it. So I can go in and add that exactly how I did the first time, one layer and then just a little bit extra on top just to give it a bit of depth, and I'm not going to be able to save that line, let's face it. I had a little bit of a moment of crisis with the leaves. I was going to go green, but I was worried that another green next to the teal might be a bit clashy. So I've decided to use the teals, but try and alternate so that I don't have a light and a dark next to each other. So you can see at the very top, there's a dark ribbon. So I've gone for the light teal leaf, then the dark, and then it goes back to the light. Because I didn't think about this when I was planning, there's no guarantee that's going to work, but you just have to kind of do your best. A yellow centre with a nice sort of orangey just round the edges. Again, we're looking for depth, and I think that's my doodle done, and I can then just move on to adding the same colours through on the extra little doodles. If this was one big April page or a couple of April pages, if you wanted the same theme, it's a really nice way of having that theme cohesively go through. So it's quite nice, and again, it's really nice when you've picked a set of colours, you've picked a theme. It's really good to be able to switch things up and have a go at putting them in different ways. So my apologies for being away from uploading for such a long time. You guys have been so supportive. I've had so many messages from people like, get back on YouTube. I'm doing it. Fortunately for me, coronavirus means that I need to stay at home. And the benefit for that is that there's loads of time to doodle. So I'm really getting in and trying to film as much as I can so that there's content for you. Thank you for being so supportive, being so patient. If you enjoyed this video, always let me know in the comments, give it a like, and I will definitely see you guys soon.